And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University and our athletic programs. And this is our first show in 2019. I'm Dean Beckman, joined by my co-host Donnie Netto. Donnie is the Sports Information Director for St. Mary's. And our guest today is one happy camper, Donnie. This is Nick Winecke. He's our Associate Athletic Director, our head baseball coach. And the reason he's happy is he has a brand new toy to play with, a baseball clubhouse on the campus of St. Mary's University. The first time we've ever had a baseball clubhouse. And Donnie, I know you were there at both the groundbreaking and also the sort of induction ceremony that we had the other night. And it is a fabulous facility. And I know you want to be the one to ask the first question today.
Well, I just am amazed at the road that it took from that groundbreaking to what we unveiled on Monday. And I know that it was an outstanding event. It was really neat to see how excited that the baseball players were because they had never been in it before Monday night, which is give Coach Winecke credit for keeping that a secret, because you've got this $700,000 building and nobody was able to get inside of it and see it before Monday. So it was a really neat opportunity. And Coach, to talk a little bit about this project, you really have to kind of go back 10 years, because our lead donor in this, Mark Weisenberger, a 75 alum baseball player, you kind of built a relationship with him early in your coaching career, and that's kind of where this really all started. Can you just kind of go back to when you and Mark developed the relationship that you have?
Yeah, I actually remember it was the summer before I was hired. It had been about June or so, and I think I was hired at the end of July. I was actually sitting in the parking lot of Steichen's Athletics up in St. Paul, and I got a phone call. I normally don't answer numbers that I don't recognize the number, but I figured, it might be a recruit, so I answered, and it was this guy on this other line, introduced himself as Mark Weisenberger, alum, 75, and he started to drill me with questions about if I thought I was capable of running the program. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, who is this guy? He's just question after question after question. And then from there, the relationship just kept on going. It really started my first year with a dozen baseballs and some catcher's gear. And then the next year was what else you kind of need. And it was almost like it was a little bit of a test for both sides of it, from Mark's side to see how St. Mary's would respond, and then from our side, from a baseball standpoint, is what we would do with the very generous gifts that we were getting. And over time, we just kind of evolved and evolved. And Mark has been obviously a very nice friend to our baseball program, very, very generous. But he's been very, very good to me personally. He's been there to be able to ask questions. His son played Division I baseball. He's a CFO of a company. He's been very successful. So it's nice to be able to call somebody that's not in our office every day and just get a different perspective on some things. So,
can you talk a little bit as it progressed? I know the hitting tunnel that you guys have for batting practice, the wind screens that we have, all of that kind of came from Mark's generosity. But talk a little bit about when Mark told you what he wanted to do this last time, because this is above and beyond anything that anybody athletically has given back to St. Mary's.
Yeah, it was, again, I happened to be in the car. I was driving back and forth recruiting from field to field up in St. Paul, and I got a call from Mark, and I answered, and he said, what if I told you if I had X number of dollars, what would we do with it? And I thought, I was like, okay, this game is kind of fun. Like, oh, this will be interesting. And he's like, no, I'm real serious on this. What would we do? So we talked everything from turf in the field to building the clubhouse, and we just kept going back to what our culture and what our mission is develop people first and players second. So we didn't spend too much time on the turf idea. We kept going back to the clubhouse. We felt like that's really where players can grow individually, but also grow as a unit. And we felt like we wanted to create a common space for our guys to be able to have year-round, to be able to do those kind of things. So we went that way pretty quick, and then from there the ball started to get going.
Tell us a little bit more about Mark. I mean, so you've known him now for several years, ever since that first phone call. And of course, when he played for St. Mary's back in the 1970s, his nickname was Pudge, which is why the clubhouse's name is Pudge's Place, right? Yeah. So he played for Max Moloch. What else can you tell us about Mark? Yeah,
Mark's from the Illinois area, Montini High School grad. Has 3 kids. He's a grandfather, CFO of a business. Just a very, very generous man. And if you listen to Mark talk, you hear him talk a lot about how Max Smolak really influenced him. It's one of those things is when you're going through it, when you have coaches or teachers, you don't always know the impact they're having on you. Sometimes you're just like, hey, just leave me alone. Like, I just want to do my thing. And then 10 years later, you start to understand the lessons they were giving you. Hey, these are really important lessons. And I think that's what Max was able to provide to Mark. I think Mark will talk a lot of times how he sees some similar characteristics of Max in myself, which is a really great honor. So really, I just tell people I just try not to screw it up. So.
Talk a little bit about the project. You were in on this from the ground floor. I'm assuming probably even helped design some of the things that went into this. Talk a little bit about that process and how much hair you must have pulled out from groundbreaking to the unveiling Monday night.
Nick, I just want to say you didn't pull out as much hair as Donnie has.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the process from start to finish. You know, you're looking at about a year and a half from the moment the conversation started to breaking ground to opening it up was about a year and a half, 2-year progress. There's just a lot of things that you have to do to get it done, and you have to get some approvals. And St. Mary's as a university has to take a look and says, okay, does this make sense to us as a university? So going through the process was just very, very rewarding. Everybody from the cabinet, Ben Murray, Tim Gosson, Brother William, Father Burns, just everybody was just so willing to make this dream a reality and to do it at a really, really high level. And I think that's one thing that I'm probably most proud of is that we didn't cut any corners to get this done. But I still have the graph paper that I was working on with the architect that I sent them and say, hey, this is kind of our idea. Mark and I were chatting at dinner after the ground opening. He just was going through all his sketches. So Mark and I were sending sketches back and forth on graph paper, and I felt like I was back in like 6th grade. But everybody, Jim Becky, Ben Murray, Tim Stensgaard, Paul Frosch, and our maintenance, they very generously let me be a part of the whole process. So I felt like I had a say in everything that was going on. Decisions just weren't made for us. They let us be a part of it. And that part I'm very appreciative of because we will put some touches on it and spin some things some baseball ways that I think make the place pretty special. So just very appreciative.
You know, one of the things we haven't talked about is what it looks like inside. We've talked about it being a clubhouse. Talk a little bit about what it looks like, you know, for the viewers. Just kind of talk about you've got an area for them to study, and then you've got the locker room. Just talk a little bit about how it looks inside.
Yeah, just the whole thing. You have 2 different entrances. You can come from the outside into the facility. You can come from inside of our field house into the facility. And then you have a lounge area that we kind of use for studying. Guys can hang out, have lunch there, eat dinner in there. Quite a little bit more of a quieter spot. And then there's a storage unit area located right off the lounge, as well as a small coach's locker room. And then you kind of get into the fun area, the main locker room for the players. You walk in that, it's a pretty impressive space. It has covering everything that they kind of need. There's 3 large TVs in there, the video game system in there, couches, you name it, gorgeous lockers, a very, very nice bathroom facility, shower facility. I was asking a couple of our guys the other day what was their favorite part, and 3 of them said right away, bathroom and showers. It's wonderful. So, you know, little things do matter. But yeah, the facility is just unbelievable. Brian Sisson, our athletic director, did a wonderful job of rolling up his sleeves with me over the last few months and trying to really make Monday night as special as it could be. So,
you walk in the door, and if you right away look to your left, there's a beautiful mural that kind of ties the past to the present.
Yeah.
It's got an outstanding theme or motto that you like to use. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the theme is respect the past, represent the future. And that's what we want to be able to have here is it's very, very important that our guys understand that what they have today is because of all those that came before them. So it just did a wonderful job tying in a lot to our culture, what's important to us, and our alumni mean the world to us. So.
And then right across from that, of course, is you have a nice display case with a lot of memorabilia from St. Mary's baseball over the years. Talk about what's in that.
Yeah, the display case is, I think, is really, really special. We have a whole middle section, the main section dedicated to Max Smolak and all of Max's stuff. We have kind of an old school locker look on one end, and then we kind of have a new school. some of the guys in the last 10 years, some of the accomplishments that they've been able to make. So it's just a really cool spot that I was in there today, and I see guys looking at stuff for the first time, and they're still trying to take everything in, which makes it fun.
You know, and then as you walk in, you turn to your right and you can head into the locker rooms. And again, we talk about nice touches, and the plaque and the picture and the bat that you have hanging on the wall there before you enter. You can't miss it, which I think is really important, because every time they go into the locker room, you're seeing a picture of Pudge when he played, the plaque that recognizes his outstanding donation, and a bat that you had made that is inscribed with Pudge's place. Talk a little bit about that, even just that little spot, because that's an important touch to make people aware of who came before them and how this happened.
Who Mark is and what was done, and we wanted to have a picture of Mark and Max because I think they go intertwined so well together. The bat was a nice touch. Thank you, Louisville Selger, Dean Marini, Wilson, who's one of our sponsors. They took care of us, so I appreciate that a lot. But it's just a great little thing to walk in. It's just the small details that catches people's eyes. One thing that I was when we all walked into this for the first time, it was really nice for me to see our guys stop and look at things. They didn't just rush by things. They'd be like, okay, this is really, they were stopping and looking with interest. And that to me is, it shows kind of a maturity there and more so appreciation. And I think that's very, very important.
So that's going to do it for this segment of the Cardinals Nest. We have lots more questions, though, for Nick Winecke, our Associate Athletic Director and head baseball coach for the Cardinals. There's a lot to this baseball clubhouse we haven't even gotten to yet. So we'll do that when we return here on HBC.
At this time, it is my great pleasure to welcome the 14th president of St. Mary's University and an avid baseball fan, Father James Burns, to the podium.
Inspired by the quote on the wall of the clubhouse that we will all see shortly, which reads, in part, respect the past, represent the future. And I can't think of a more fitting slogan for this evening. St. Mary's truly values the faces and the names of all those who have gone before us. Pudge's place is real, alive, and ready to be the game changer it set out to be. This facility will have the most profound impact on current, past, and future Cardinal student athletes for generations to come, and result in helping develop the future leaders of tomorrow.
If your home is like mine, everything begins and ends on the internet. In fact, the average home now uses 7 wireless devices each day. Make sure you have the bandwidth for homework, live chats, and streaming with fast, reliable internet from broadband.
Power all your devices with HBC high-speed internet and get up to 1,000 megabits per second. Lightning-fast internet that fits all your family's needs. So call or visit hbci.com today.
What's a Southern girl? It's waking up before the sun rises. It's loving the simple things in life like the dirt roads that lead you home. It's working hard to get what you want. It's hanging your own stands, breaking your own ground, and strategizing every little move for that one moment when everything you've worked for is standing right in front of you. Even if I fail a million times, I keep pushing myself till I'm exhausted, filthy, and about to give up. And that's when the adrenaline hits.
Don't miss out on highlights and score updates from your favorite local college and high school athletics by following HBC TV 25 Sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get up-to-date information on all the games covered by the HBC sports team. Grab your smartphone and add us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HBC TV 25 Sports.
Be sure to check out US Golf TV, where you are going to see golf products that you have never seen before. You're also going to see golf tips from some of the leading instructors around the country that are truly changing the way people are teaching the game and challenging the status quo. Also, you're going to see fitness tips that are revolutionizing the way PGA Tour pros are training their body and swinging the golf club. If you want something different, if you're looking for some new information, US Golf TV has it. Be sure to check your local listings. US Golf TV, we've got you covered.
Today's households are using more connected devices than ever before. TVs are streaming, smartphones are browsing, security cameras are watching, and virtual assistants are, well, assisting.
You'll need an umbrella today.
As you add more devices, we are constantly improving our technology to deliver the fastest and most reliable internet to your home. So make sure you have enough bandwidth.
Get blazing fast speeds up to 1 gig from HBC. Call 888-474-9995 today.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest with Nick Winecke to talk about the new baseball clubhouse at St. Mary's. And Nick, we've covered a lot of territory already, especially the first part of the clubhouse when you first walk in. But one of the things we haven't talked about next is that next phase of the clubhouse, and that is the locker room. Because even though as great as that first entry area is, with the big screen TV and the plaques that we talked about and the display case, I think the real wow factor is when you walk into that locker room where the players will dress and gather and you'll have team meetings and all of that. It truly is, in my opinion, kind of a mini Major League Baseball locker room. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we wanted to make it so when you walked in, you're kind of blown away. That was our goal. We want to make sure it stands up to the test of time with technology and everything else, down to all the outlets. So there's an outlet almost every other locker with the USB plug-in. So we wanted to make sure that this thing was not only looking really nice, but very much player friendly as well. To the logos up on the ceilings. Just the whole thing, we wanted to make it as colorful and as special as it possibly can be. And I think we were able to achieve that. I have a couple ideas up my sleeve that we'll do over probably this summer now being in there to enhance it even more. But yeah, just very, very happy with it. So.
You know, one of the things that amazes me about the locker room portion is there's 45 lockers in there. 1, 2, 3, about 4 couches, a table, but it doesn't feel crowded. I mean, that really, before you put the couches in there and we were finishing it up, it felt almost small. And then you put those couches in there. I mean, it's a huge area. The guys are going to be just in heaven. You know, there's going to be no knee touching or anything like that.
No,
there's a lot of room.
Yeah, I think in the whole facility, I think there's 6 or 7 couches in the whole facility, probably 6 or so tables, and so there's just a lot of space. And we had a team meeting in there real quick yesterday, just kind of go over the ground rules, so to say. And we had everybody in there, and it didn't feel tight at all. And that's with about 50 people in there, and it still felt pretty spacious. So yeah, it's one of those things from the outside. One of the responses we got was from the outside is, hey, it looks really nice, but it kind of looks small. And you get in there and you're kind of blown away by the space that's in there. And I think that goes for anything from building a house to what have you. We're just, yeah, it is the right space for our size. So.
You know, we talk so much about the wow factor and all the bells and whistles, but I think one of the things that really caught my eye is that you didn't forget about the people who made this happen. We've talked a lot about Mark and the lead gift that he gave, but on the one wall you've got a beautiful a plaque that is for donors that have given an exceptionally large amount of money.
Impressive amount, yep.
Thank you. And then you go into the locker room, and the lockers are sponsored, and each one of those says, you know, this locker sponsored by Nick Winecke or whoever it may be. And to me, those are the kind of things that really set this locker room apart, because it's great to be given the money and use it and make this awesome thing, but you haven't forgot to thank the people that made this all possible.
Yeah, that's the important part. This doesn't happen without our alumni. There's no getting around that. So you go to the position plaque that we have in the lounge area where we did sponsor a position. I think somebody told me this the other day, and I really like it. It's a mature dollar amount to get on that board. Those 4 guys that are on that board right now are very, very deserving people and very, very generous to the program. And then you move yourself into the locker room where we did sponsor a locker program for $2,000 a locker. The response back has been overwhelming. There's 45 lockers. To date right now, 39 of them are sponsored. Off camera, I was just telling these guys that we had 2 calls on the way here with 2 other younger alums wanting to sponsor them. So hopefully we'll be at 41 by this afternoon. But just the response back from everybody has been overwhelming.
You know, I think one of the things you mentioned early on in this taping is Mark's relationship with Max, and really that's part of the reason that Mark has done what he's done. What impresses me right now, and I know that you're going to hate me for this, but is the response that you've gotten in your 10 years from people giving back, sponsoring those lockers. I mean, I bet you 80% of those sponsorships are from guys in the last 10, 12 years. I mean, that says a lot about the kind of players that you're recruiting and that you're cultivating in their 4 years here.
Yeah, I think it's special anytime anybody gives to a program, no matter their age, I think is very, very important. And one of the things that we tell our guys all the time is giving back to the program doesn't always mean financially. It could be support by word of mouth. It could be help with recruiting. We have a lot of our guys that coach, passing names on. So the net gets spread out a little bit larger. Those that have the financial capabilities to do it, yeah, it is very, very nice. The connection piece, obviously it helps having a lot of my uncles played here. So I have some connections in some eras that I wasn't a part of. That's a huge part of it. But the young guys that I was able to be a part of their experience and our coaching staff, I think that part obviously is very special. I try not to get too emotional when I talk about it because it does hit to the heart. When we set out to do this and I started to make some calls on the locker room part and sponsoring a locker, within 48 hours we had about 33 of the lockers sponsored and we had over $120,000 raised. And almost everybody that I called that I felt was in a financial situation to be able to do this, almost all of them said without a doubt, whatever you need, coach, we're here. So obviously it's a very special time, but it's not always giving back financially. We have a lot of people that give back to the program in a lot of ways, and they mean just as much to the program as anybody else.
So I got to ask, what was it about the bathroom area, the shower bathroom area that really impressed the students?
It's big. They actually did a wonderful job. I should actually have the company that did the tile come over and do my house as well. Just down to the tile selection, how they added some red in there. The shower space is obviously very, very nice. And it's connected right to the locker room. Sure. Just like we have a laundry facility connected right to it. Like I said, we have everything we could possibly need in that facility. So we're very much fortunate and spoiled at the same time.
What's interesting is we've talked about this locker room for almost a half an hour now, and I finally get to ask the question, baseball related, how will this project, this clubhouse, help you on the recruiting trail, in attracting students? How does this aid you in your recruiting efforts?
Yeah, I think anytime you do something, you want to make something that's going to be a difference maker. You want to enhance an experience. You want to separate yourself from everybody else. And I think that's what we've been able to do here. So much of our culture, we talk about developing the person over the player. We talk about the team is the most important aspect. Now, we put our money where our mouth is. So not only are we talking it, we've walked it for a long, long time, but now we have a facility that we can help enhance that. So from a recruiting standpoint, it really follows what we're all about. And we hope it does make a difference. But we also want students to come to St. Mary's because they love St. Mary's. This is a part of their experience, a large part of it, but we kind of took the lead from the Science and Learning Center and the impact that had, and we're trying to do that from the athletic standpoint.
It sort of begs the question too, Nick, what did you do before the clubhouse, right? I mean, as recently as this past
Tony
year.
Piscatello told me that when his second year, and Tony just finished up his 50th year at St. Mary's, his second year playing baseball was the first year of the locker room down below the main gym. Well, up until this current year, that's the same locker room we were using. So a lot of memories in there. It's very nice to have space. But we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Talk a little bit, Nick. Talk a little bit about the future. I mean, you had said you have some things up your sleeve. I'm sure you don't want to give away anything. But for most people, aside from the baseball team, nobody's still seen the inside of this. Hopefully, HBC is going to show some footage. But there is going to be an open house. Talk a little bit about the chance that other people are going to get to see this amazing facility.
Yeah, we're going to do something I think really special at the end of April. April 27th, we have a home game versus Bethel that day, a doubleheader. Between games, we're going to honor all those that financially helped support this and make this a reality. And then we have an open house for all, parents, former players, you name it. We want everybody to be able to have a chance to go through this and experience it. But I've already had a lot of alums reach out, hey, do you mind if we come? Yeah, absolutely. So I sent an email out to the alums last night saying, hey, if you're on campus, let me know. Make sure you get in there and take a look at it. So again, it doesn't happen without a lot of people's hard work. So
I couldn't help but notice at the ceremony the other night, Father Burns, of course, he blessed the entire clubhouse. And he sprinkled a little extra holy water in the coach's locker room area.
Yeah, we need. I told him we needed about a gallon more of that. So actually, it was funny going through, gave the speech during the event, and I skipped over the thank you to Father Burns and Brother William, our former president, and I sat down and I turned and looked at him and I just went, I'm real sorry. I just skipped over it. You know, you kind of get going and your brain gets going a little bit. So I think he got me back with a couple extra blessings. So I very much appreciate that part.
I will say too, of course, we've had Brother Frank on this program, our athletic liaison and kind of a special liaison to
my
the
right-hand
baseball
man,
team. He has a locker in the coach's
absolutely,
locker room, right?
Brother Frank's a coach on our staff. He's a huge value to us. Obviously, his experience in higher education, his experience of athletics is kind of unmatched. But more so, he's a wonderful person. He's a wonderful mentor. He's a good friend of ours, good friend of me personally. And he travels everywhere with us. So you have to have a locker for him. If you don't have a locker for him, I think we're not doing stuff the right way. So I'm sure we're gonna have to kick him out of the facilities every now and then and get too comfortable. But you know, he's just we're the lucky ones to have Brother Frank.
And then Nick, your longtime assistant TJ Oaks, his thoughts on the clubhouse.
Yeah, TJ again. I think TJ said it best one day. We were in there, and I said, "Hey, TJ, what do you think?" And he just says, "Hey, I think it's better than half the Big Ten." So I think that puts
he played for the Gophers.
He played for the Gophers, and he says it's for sure better than most minor league baseball parks that he played in when he was playing for the Rockies organization. So I think everybody from our whole coaching staff down to our players, support staff, I think we all have been just very pleased and blown away with how nice it is.
So one of the questions I want to ask, and you alluded to it in the first segment a little bit, but how did you grow as a person through all of this? And what I mean by that is you're not a general contractor, right?
No.
Yet you were involved in all of the planning and you know, parts of the construction. So what did you go from knowing very little about to now you feel like you know a lot more about it? You might not be an expert, but you know a lot more about it.
Yeah, the problem is with knowledge, people have expectations for you then. So I'm not going to share too much of my
Leah
knowledge
wants a new
because
house,
my wife should start thinking I can do all these things. So let's not get too aggressive. But yeah, just learned a lot from Ben Murray and how this works to Jim Beckey, to Tim Stensgaard, Paul Frost, like all those guys that kind of just said, hey, you know, from looking at ceiling tiles, knowing how wide a ceiling tile is and how to tell a space that way, to colors and how you want to have different shades. And if you like the look, you got to go +2 or -2. So stuff like that I had no idea about, but I'm not going to say that I know anything about it because I'm going to get put to work. So.
Another question I have is you talked about the open house for the public getting a chance to see it, and we'll have more announcements on that as it gets closer. But another opportunity would be there was a video that was produced by St. Mary's. So how can people see that video before the open house?
Yeah, I would say hop online, hop on our Twitter page, hop on our St. Mary's Athletics page. Jeff, our videographer, just did a wonderful job. He just did an absolutely phenomenal job at it. I think it's very special. We have a shorter one that was just released, about a minute long, and then we're going to follow up with another one here in the near future, a little bit longer of a video. But it does give you a glimpse of kind of the energy of that night. So,
you know, one of the things that really caught my eye, if you do go on the St. Mary's website, one of the pictures that we have on what we call a splash page is a picture of Mark, and it really, to me, shows his appreciation for what his money went to. It's one of those that you can see in his face that he was very proud of what you guys accomplished. Did you talk to Mark afterwards and get his reaction to this project?
Yeah, I think it's all just sinking in a little bit for all of us. You know, it's kind of surreal still at this point, and Brian Sisson, our athletic director, were talking on Tuesday morning, and we just said, you know, we probably need to debrief off of this, and so yeah, we probably need a little bit of time to let it sink in a little bit. And I think that's the same thing for Mark. Let it sink in. I got to give him a call here a little bit later today, but I think on the drive home yesterday morning, it was probably a good time, 2.5 hour drive, to kind of let it sink in and get his thoughts on it.
All right, Nick Winecke, our Associate Athletic Director, Head Baseball Coach. Thanks for your time today to tell everyone about the new clubhouse.
Absolutely.
And enjoy this spring here.
Sounds great.
All right, that's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Thanks for watching.